This is about AI and how law firms apply this in practice. We've got Atendila Gebeda from ENS Innovation, Naila Fredericks from ENS, who's a developer, Azar Aziz Ismail from Clyde & Co., who's an attorney, Narushka Bowen, who's also an ICT lawyer and author in Juta publication on AI, and Byron Barkley from Cooperative Computing. And we welcome them to the stage. I understand that they've got quite an amazing presentation for us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Azar Aziz Ismail from Clyde & Co. He's going to be our first presenter of the day.
Okay, a very good morning to everyone, and thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning for a presentation on legal technology, AI, and its application in legal practice. So, as introduced, my name is Azar Aziz Ismail. I'm a knowledge manager at Clyde & Co., but I wear a few different hats. I'm with the Gauteng Attorneys Association, the Johannesburg Attorneys Association, and the Legal Tech and Innovation Institute today. And I'm joined by a really amazing panel of colleagues who have a lot of interesting things to share. So, the structure of how we're going to be doing today is going to be a little bit more different than advertised. It's not going to be just a normal panel discussion that you can be sitting in and listening into. We really want to get down to the practical. So we're going to start off with a little bit of the background to give you a better understanding of legal technology on a really basic level. And then we're going to zoom into some of the practical ways that you can use AI. And we're going to be looking at it in two different lenses. A lens of what's really available out there, but then we're also going to be looking at what can you walk away from today and still start implementing. So, calling it house rules is not the best way to go ahead, but we are lawyers. This session is aimed to be interactive. So I'm going to ask you all to please take your phones out. We are going to be engaging with you. All you need is your phone. You don't need any fancy software or anything. It's really easy to use. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using Microsoft Forms throughout the entire session and different stages of the session to engage with you. Because we understand, based on how many people are here today, we can't float a mic to everyone. If you were at the conference last year, it is a little bit different from my session last year. We're not using Mentimeter. This year, we're using Microsoft Forms. So when there's an opportunity for engagement, a QR code will pop up on the screen. You scan the QR code, and you can engage with the presenters in real time, and your engagements will appear on the screen. We also have an interesting demo that's planned for the session. So a recording is going to be enabled so that we can play out or include it within the demo a little bit later in the session. At the end of the session, and also in the middle of the session, we will have an opportunity to break for questions. I think while we're just having the recording started, I'm just going to ask my colleagues who are joining me just to introduce themselves, and then we can get started with the first element of the session.
Thanks, Azar. Good morning. My name is Lucien. I'm a lawyer from Johannesburg. I've been practicing in this very exciting field for between 20 and 26 years, depends how you define it. I'm really excited to be here tonight, this morning. I think what's important, as you'll see today, is that we're going to be demonstrating a really exciting new technology. But what I would like to say is sometimes things don't usually go, or sometimes things don't go smoothly, so please bear with us if things are slow or if there are glitches. But by the time you leave today, as I says, we're hoping that you'll be really empowered to use AI in your practices.
Hi, my name is Narushka Bowen. I'm also a lawyer practicing in the technology and privacy law space. I'm not going to tell you how many years. And really at this point in my life, I'm dedicating my life and my purpose to this topic. So it's very close to my heart. Currently writing a book with Juta on generative AI. It's more of a practical handbook or guide for lawyers to help you understand what this technology is, how do you use it, while also safely mitigating the risks that come with this technology. I also run something called the LIT Institute. LIT stands for Law, Innovation, Technology, Tomorrow. And there I create courses to try and help bridge the gap between law and technology. So in May, we have 2 coming up. One is called the Legal Innovation Accelerator, which I run with Leah Moletseli and Naomi Thompson, to help you understand the impact of innovation in legal practice. And then the second one I run is the Gen AI Legal Accelerator, which unpacks what AI is, what generative AI is, all the legal and regulatory issues, all the risks and ethical issues, as well as how to govern the use of generative AI. Amongst other hats that I wear, this is one of my big missions. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm definitely not a lawyer, but I'm in IT. So I'm from the law firm called ENS. So thank you very much to the Law Society for inviting us today. In terms of AI, we are still very much new, so we are also learning. So this is very exciting for us as well. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Byron Barkley, representing a company called Cooperative Computing. I've been working with lawyers probably for the last 10 years now in trying to help them how to work more efficient and how to save time, how to be more customer-centric. And my role is to try and deep delve into the requirements, understand the legal work that's being done, and then tie that back to technology. Thank you.
Thanks, Byron. Thanks, everyone, for introducing yourselves. And we're now ready to go forward. Now, just bear in mind, with the Microsoft Forms, like any technology, we're actually testing this for the first time with this audience. So you are part of our guinea pig group to use this with Microsoft PowerPoint. So let's see how this works. I have now just put up on, it should come on the screen in a moment, a QR code. Simply scan the QR code. So you're going to open your camera, and you're going to scan the QR code, and it should open a Microsoft Forms. This is anonymous, so if you're worried about your data, I'm not going to know who you are or where you're from. Simply scan that QR code, and let's see. Have you used legal technology before? Okay, so we're going to try that again, and now you should be able to scan that QR code and have access to complete the form. Always fun to try new technology at a conference in front of a lot of people. You either have egg on your face or you'd success. Yeah? People getting in? Yes. Great. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the results coming live on the screen as well. We've got 10 responses with overwhelming 55% saying no, and 45% saying yes. I'm going to give it another minute. So if you can just try, I mean, we've got more than 30 people in the room. Just give it a go. Yeah. That's my point that I'm going to get to with the question. So you're going to see in a moment. The point is from this question is to show you that while 45% of people have said yes and 54% have said no, in reality, a lot of us actually use legal technology without realizing it. And I think at the end of today's session, you're going to realize that and the power of what you have to optimize your practice. So, I'm just going to move this, and let's start talking and laying the ground for what exactly is legal tech. So, as a starting point, you're going to hear terms used like law tech, legal tech. Today, it's actually used synonymously. It's being exchanged. Either or mean the same thing, but from just a technical perspective, legal tech is actually for lawyers. It's an inward view. We use it to automate internal systems and processes, and it's the tech that lawyers ultimately use to streamline your work, right? It could be e-discovery, AI, machine learning, document review, etc. It could also include something as soon as small as, or what we think is small, as your simple Microsoft license. I think after today's session, you're going to agree with me in saying that your Microsoft license really takes you a long way. And we're not promoting Microsoft in any way of sort. There are other service providers as well which offer similar tools. We're just using Microsoft because that's what's accessible to us at the moment. You also have law tech. And this is another avenue of law. It's for consumers. And it's where the law has the opportunity to go, to move away from simply being a service that you offer to your clients, but to have the capability to offer products to your clients. And that's where law tech is going to come in. It's client-focused. In the beginning, it always starts off with a value add to clients, and you can always build to product stage. I mean, it's technology to deliver products for your clients. It's a lot more disruptive when it comes to technology in the legal space. And it sort of brings law to small businesses and people directly to enable them to self-serve. So this is using examples like legal chatbots or online marketplaces for contracts and the likes. Obviously, as lawyers, we'd always put a lot of caveats over those kind of pieces of products and technology, but ultimately that is one of the avenues where the law can go. We're not going to focus on that today. Our focus today is going to be on legal tech and how can you use technology to streamline your process. So I'm not going to talk you through all of this, but this just gives you a bit of an overview of how far back the history of legal technology goes. I was surprised when I studied this. I mean, legal technology started back in 1953. Who would have thought? You know, that's where you first got a taste of things when a dictation machine called the audiograph was marketed directly to lawyers. Now, this image is courtesy of Thomson Reuters in one of their latest reports. So you'll see it's very Westlaw and Thomson Reuters evolved. But as you can see, there really is a rich history when it comes to legal technology that goes far back. I mean, if you're looking at something that I learned recently, a lot of people, well, a small group of people in London started using AI from as early as 2000. I was surprised that even existed then. But moving past the history of legal technology, there are different categories of legal technology that exist. And you'll see some overlap in some of our discussions which talk a bit more in detail. So I'm not going to give you the detail of this. We will touch on some of these categories. So within your categories, you can use legal technology for document management and storage. You can use it for e-discovery. If you're an IP lawyer, for IP support. I mean, it doesn't only have to be within your legal practice. You can use it for your financing, legal services, growing legal networks. That's a trend happening globally. Accounting services for your firm and your billing services. Document automation, something that's very different from a smart contract, often confused, but not the same thing. Legal research and practice or matter management. So these are some of the categories of technology that exist out there within legal technology. And I think that posed the question that was raised earlier. What type of technology are you asking that first question about? Sort of segueing to this point. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to sort of paint a picture of is tools and processes that are available in legal technology. Now, some of these will be touched on a little bit later, but a focus really is going to be on artificial intelligence, AI, but these do not exist alone. I mean, chatbots work with AI, some of them do. Document automation, you can build in AI. Smart contracts definitely leverage off AI. So they work together in different instances, but these are some of the tools and processes that actually exist today in legal technology. So one of the last few things that I wanted to mention before I hand the floor over to my colleagues is, why do we see that legal technology is resisted? Firstly, especially within the legal industry, we find that there's a lack of knowledge and understanding when it comes to legal technology. Now, this stems from the capability to use it, but also of what it can do. You may have the technology on your computer right now. You just don't know that it has the capabilities to do what it can, because it's not been marketed for that purpose. right? The next one is organizational issues. Within the organization you work, there may be certain restrictions on what you can and cannot do with technology, or a culture of technology. But this also may be about something of, stemming from reasons that will be discussed later. Other considerations like security, confidentiality, privilege. There's those concerns that arise. And then lastly, and a big one for a lot of law firms is the financial barriers. Because some pieces of technology can be expensive, but it does not have to be that way. And by the end of today, you will be able to walk away from the session saying, what I've got, or what I can get at a minimal cost, will allow me the capability to streamline my practice, be more efficient, and I'm using AI. I didn't know it. So I'm going to hand over now to Narushka, and while Narushka's coming up, she's got a question for you guys to engage with. Thanks, everyone. I'll be back in a little bit. Narushka?
Thanks, everyone. So, what happened to the... Okay, you do that question. Okay, so what comes to mind when you hear that word artificial intelligence? So again, you can scan that QR code and put in all your options, and we'll see that come up while we talk. Okay. That's fine. Don't stress about it. We can talk about it. So I really want to talk to you guys today, lawyer to lawyer, because what I believe is that sometimes we get a bad reputation of not being able to change with the times, wanting to do things the way we've always done it, being resistant to change, old school. All of these words are always used to describe us in terms of taking the practice forward. But I'd like to argue against that. If we were truly so backwards, we'd probably still be communicating via pigeons or with handwritten notes to our clients, maybe faxes, DocX, or typewriters. But what are we doing today? We're in the cloud, guys. You are all in the cloud. That's amazing. Your practice has already progressed. You're using instant communication with your clients. You're doing virtual meetings. Even 10 years ago, virtual meetings was something futuristic. Now it's second nature. We can sit here by the beach, have a cocktail. You're on Teams, you're still working, still billing. Can bill from anywhere now, in the aeroplane, wherever we are. So with the times, and as technology has advanced, so has the practice of law. We have not stagnated. The difference between some industries and the legal industries that sometimes we may not be the first to adopt a technology, and that is not a bad thing. Because what happens to those who goes first? They are the ones who the headlines are written about. Because that's how we learn about all the issues, the risks with that particular technology. And then as we learn, we become more familiar, we know the steps to take to mitigate those risks, and then we can adopt it into our practice in a safe and ethical way. Because remember, our profession also has a lot more rules than a lot of other industries. If we don't walk within the lines, we can lose our license to practice law. That's not a small thing. So we have to also take seriously how we use the technologies in the right way. Now, what have we been seeing when something new and shiny like generative AI comes on the scene? When something like ChatGPT comes on the scene, we hear about it at the BRI. No, this thing can do anything, just try. So we go and we try, then what happens? We find ourselves in a headline. Lawyer using ChatGPT admits fake cases into court. Right? It happened in New York first. Then we thought, okay, now lawyers know we can't use this for legal research, this free tool from the internet. A few weeks later, Johannesburg, Match Court, It happened again. A few weeks later, Canada, it happened again. A few weeks later, Australia, it happened again. These are the ones that are making the headlines. There are many, many, many more stories. Talk to law librarians. They will tell you, I need this case urgently. We have to file the thing. This is the right case to win for my client. The law librarian is searching and searching and searching all the approved sites for this case. Cannot find it. But where did you hear about this case? Because I've really tried everything. I've even spoken to my friends to find this case. No, ChatGPT told me about it. This case is gonna win. It's gonna win. ChatGPT made up that case. So this is the situation we're sitting in now. We don't want to get left behind. So then we're moving too fast and we're putting our profession at risk. So what should we be doing? The first step, so I call it the 3 E's. The first step is education. How does this tool work? What are the risks involved? How do I safely embed it into my practice in a way that makes sense? For also the size of my practice, does a 10,000 Rand Copilot license make sense? Or a $20 ChatGPT license, or a $30 Claude? There's so many also. Can you even get all of those licenses? Because, what is your IT budget? Will people even use it if I'm going to get it? Do they know how to use it? Do they understand the risks? So education is first. Educate in terms of how a tool works to the extent needed for your practice, and education on the risks. Now, risks go beyond hallucination. The other important one is privacy, confidentiality, legal privilege. These are all similar but different and very important concepts for the practice of law, right? Now, what we're seeing, especially with the freely available tools, so all of these generative AI tools that we have out there, maybe let's take a step back before we talk about the different type of tools. Now, I'm talking about artificial intelligence, AI, and then I'm talking about generative AI, which is a subset of that. Now, artificial intelligence is something we are all familiar with. This is not a new concept. Not a new concept to law, not a new concept to humans, not a new concept to legal practice. When you go out in the evening after a long day of work and you've got your whiskey there and you put the Netflix on and Netflix says, perfect for you to watch this now. How does it know? What is it using? That's an AI algorithm, right? When Siri tells you on your phone, it will only be 25 minutes to get home. How does she know where you're going? That's an AI algorithm running there on your phone. AI is everywhere. You can't escape it. Unless you're living off the grid somewhere, you can't escape AI. AI is very embedded in our lives. Now, generative AI is the ability to create something. So AI in terms of making decisions, analyzing data, all of that stuff. Think about your e-discovery, your due diligence. We've had that for actually a very long time. Generative AI means generating new things using AI, using a tool called a large language model, which means it's been pre-trained. So GPT, generative, pre-trained transformer. It can generate things from data that it was pre-trained on and transform that content into something new. So the first transformer was Google Translate. It takes any language, puts it into another language. Then they realized with this transformer, you don't just have to take things and make it from A to B. You can actually create, C, D, E, F, G. You can create whatever you want. And that's how we ended up with the technology ChatGPT and all its friends, Google Gemini Pro, Claude, Perplexity, Bard, Copilot. There's so many at the moment. ChatGPT was just the first one. It can do text, it can do photos, it can do videos, it can do sound. It's really, really amazing the level of technology we have in the world right now. Now, where does that leave us humans? Now, if we have a job, what is a lawyer's job? Think about what we do. We consume large volumes of information. We synthesize that, and we generate an output, which is generally a text. whether it's an opinion or a court pleading. What does a large language model do? It analyzes a large volume of text. It synthesizes that information. It generates an output of text. See where I'm going with this? Why is it important for lawyers to understand generative AI? Is because when we get the models the models right now still have a lot of issues, but we're not too far from the models who are not going to have the issues of the hallucination and privacy and all of those other things that I mentioned. When we get to the model where we are happy, this is private, this is secure, our client's information is not going to get leaked, this thing is not going to hallucinate, we can give it all our precedence and say, boom, document. We are not far from there. There are already tools that can do it with varying levels of ability. And so we need to think about that. Then it comes to the other two E's. So we said education is first. The next one is empowerment. Do you want to empower yourselves to take advantage of technology like this, or do you want to say, I'm too afraid and get left behind? If you empower yourself, you can actually ride the wave and find new business opportunities, whether they be advising your clients on AI. Remember, all your clients are going through the same thing. They're also trying to figure out these things, and they don't understand the risks involved, the legal issues, the AI policy. Remember when social media came around, and then everybody needed a social media policy in their company? It's going to be the same thing with AI and generative AI. So it could be a new business opportunity. If you learn how to leverage things internally, you could open up new markets. We have a huge access to justice problem, not just in this country, in the world. There's a very small percentage of people who actually buy legal services because they can afford legal services. Everybody else just muddles along until you get married or you die, one of those life events. Then a lawyer gets involved. All that other times when you need a lawyer, even small businesses, you just Google a document and that'll become your services agreement because we can't afford legal services. What if, leveraging one of these tools, you are able to price in such a way that huge gap in the middle, that 80% or whatever it is, you can actually service 10% of that market? That's a huge new business opportunity. So empowerment is another thing. And the third one is the most important one, is empathy. At the end of the day, what makes us different to robots? It's not the argument that you stand and tell the judge. The robot's going to do that also. Robots can already talk and speak like this. Go look on YouTube. Go check Figure 1, OpenAI Figure 1. They've put ChatGPT's brain in a robot. It can walk and talk just like this. We've passed that stage. So what's the difference between, why must I hire you and not the robot? Because you're a human. We have a connection, we have energy, there's a life force there. No matter how hard we try, we're not going to put it in the robot. So if you concentrate on your empathy, why do your clients come to you? Do you think they come to you for a legal document? They come to you for help. They come to you because they're bringing their problems through the door, and you are telling them it's going to be okay, I'm here. I'm going to help you. That's why they're coming to you. And as you build that connection, and anybody who's been in the practice a long time will know, your best clients are the ones who you focused on the relationship. If you spend time on a relationship with your client, that will become one of your best clients in your practice. And that's our differentiating factor, it's our empathy. And if us as humans can leverage that, no matter how advanced the robots become, they can't replace us because we can't replicate that. So education is first, empowerment is second, and empathy is third. It's the 3 E's, and that's how you will navigate this path that's coming up. So as you go through, just remember, the free tools, the online tools, don't put client information in there. It is possible that these things can be trained using your client's information, and that can be outputted to other people, which is very scary. Don't trust the information that you get from a lot of these tools because it has this ability to hallucinate. It hasn't been trained to tell you the right answer. It's been trained to tell you what you want to hear. Remember, it's a creative storyteller. It can make up the most beautiful story, the most beautiful poem, the most beautiful piece of art, the most beautiful song, and the most beautiful fake case that's going to win for you. That's what it does. And it does it with confidence, so you think it's real. So be aware of these things. Now as we enter into the elections, misinformation is a big thing. Don't believe anything you see on the internet. I know it's a very broad statement to make, but you can't believe anything you see with your eyes. Before, if we saw a photo or a video, we could say this thing really happened. Even if you see a video as good as a Hollywood movie, does not mean the thing happened. So what does it mean for us, and what do we trust? We need trusted sources of information on the internet. So I'm hoping our journalistic houses become those trusted sources of information. They also get caught sometimes, and they spread misinformation, but most of the time they vet the stories, and so we can trust them. But if just any random person posts something, it's like all those things, those forwarded things on WhatsApp. 99% of that stuff is completely made up. Treat the whole internet like that. Use your own discernment. Critical thinking is going to be a very important skill going forward because it's so easy to scam people. The other thing, just in terms of life, the scams are getting so sophisticated. You're going to get a call from your daughter in the middle of the night, begging for help. She's lost her wallet. She needs this money. She needs help. Somebody's cloned your daughter's voice. But who's going to even think twice when your daughter phones you in the middle of the night? You're going to transfer the money immediately to help your daughter. This is the world we live in. This is reality. This is not future. Be aware of these risks as we navigate this path. Take advantage of these opportunities as well. There's such huge opportunities. Even can create a whole new practice area if you like. That's how big this change is going to be. You've navigated many technology changes throughout your career. This is just the next one, but it is a big one, so bear that in mind. And the more you educate yourself, the more empowered you will feel, and the better you're going to move through this. And just remember, at the end of the day, it's about human-to-human connection. Why did you all come here and congregate in this place? You could have read about AI on the internet somewhere. You could have found a lot of everything, all information's on the internet. Why do we still make the effort to come see each other in person? Think about that. So yes, AI is here. It's my whole life at this point, but I do think humans are still in the lead for now. We'll see how long. Thank you.
Thanks, Narushka. I mean, some really interesting, a little bit scary, but optimistic things to look forward to. And I mean, that's talking about AI as it is now, how you can use it, what risks to be considerate of. Now, we're going to try a different question. It should work. Have you used generative AI? Let's see if this works. So for those who have just joined us, we're really trying to get your engagement. So you're going to scan the QR code, simply take a photo on your phone or point the camera from your, to the QR code. A little bubble will pop up, and you will then have the opportunity to engage and share whether or not you've used generative AI. And generative AI is ChatGPT, Google Bard, Microsoft Bing Chat. So yeah, let's give us just a few moments, and let's see, 16 responses. Let's see. We've got 4% saying so far that they don't think they're allowed to within their organization. And I mean, obviously from what you've heard, you may not want to do that, but there is positives to it. Let's just give it a few more moments. We've got 30 responses.
We know that everyone in this room has a cell phone because all of you were on it yesterday. So please do not be shy about the use of your cell phone in this session. We would like you, even if those of you at the back, if your camera can't reach the distance, please feel free. We want you to engage on this topic. Please come up, scan the QR code. We really need to check. We want you to interact with the speakers. Come on up, don't be shy. Move closer. There are tables that are closer. We've only got 38 responses. There are more than that of you in the room. Come. We want everyone's cell phone up. We want you to scan in the code. We really want to see the stats on this. I also learned something new. You open up your camera, focus, and then it gives you a little yellow block at just underneath the thing. Click on that button, and then you'll see the screen. So please, we'd like to see we've got 38. We'd like to see some more responses. So please don't be shy. We all saw you on Insta last night. So come on, guys.
Thanks, Joanne. So while we're having our responses stream in, I mean, when we talk about generative AI, like Narushka said, there are times to use it, and obviously there's times not to, especially as lawyers, right? So at the moment, using generative AI for legal research, no, right? But using it to help you be more efficient and a bit quicker in what you do, yes, but in a responsible manner. So we don't just copy paste, we then add our human intelligence to it and craft and change the document. And when we hear from Lucian in a little bit, he's going to share a few examples from his side on how they've done that. I see we've up to 51 responses. So looking at this, we've got 49% of the people who say, yep, sometimes I do. 28% of people like never. I'm staying away from that. 9% of people, these are my people, all the time. And then 5 people, what's that? I mean, valid, it is relatively new, but it's been all the news recently. And then 5% say that I don't think I'm allowed to use it. And you're right. Most law firms would prevent you from using it because you do need those more secure platforms to do it. I mean, with Microsoft, for example, you've got Bing Chat, and then now they've got Bing Chat Enterprise, which allows you to use it a lot more securely. But always be cautious against uploading privileged, confidential, or your client information onto here. So what I'm going to talk about now, and we're going to leave it here with our 54 responses. Thank you for everyone who's participated. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move along, and I'm going to talk about something called prompt engineering, right? So prompt engineering and generative AI, basically what you put in is what you get out. So I'm just going to share some information that I came across in a recent Thomson Reuters report, where 48% of professionals predicted that lower costs for firms resulting from AI use would lead to a greater firm productivity. When we talk about use of generative AI in terms of streamlining your productivity and your efficiency, I understand, you know, as lawyers we have this concern to say, okay, this would take me 5 hours. It's now going to take me 30 minutes. I'm charging my client less. But that's in the short term. Let's think longer term. Because I'm charging my client less, they now like me, right? I'm a lot more competitive than the law firm down the street. And beyond being a lot more competitive than the law firm down the street, I now have the capacity to take on a greater volume of work from the clients. So now, yes, I'm doing things quicker, I'm charging them a bit less, but I can now take on more work and focus a lot more on the substantive legal side of things that requires our human intelligence. Because sometimes, you know, as lawyers, we love writing our soliloquies. I'm one of those. I think the wording of something is very important. Sometimes something that can be said in 1 line, I say in about 3 lines, just because I think it sounds better. It comes across better. And you can still use plain language in doing that as well, but there are ways to do that. And now with generative AI, I don't need to spend an hour working on the wording of a letter that I'm going to send. It'll take me 2 minutes, and I can just tweak it to my taste of language. Now, You can see on the screen just a few quotes. You've got Steve Hasker, who's the president and CEO of Thomson Reuters, and he said, through the application of AI to perform more mundane tasks, professionals have the unique opportunity to address human capital issues such as job satisfaction, well-being, and work-life balance. This will in turn unlock time for professionals to focus on complex work that adds value to their clients' needs. You know, in a survey done by Thomson Reuters, they found that 2/3 of professionals said that they believe the emergence of AI and generative AI will have a transformational or high impact on the profession within the next 5 years. And during the survey, they asked, can ChatGPT or generative AI be applied to legal work? And they received 82% in yes, 7% in no, and 10% of maybe. And this is an interesting quote that I wanted to include as well. If you're not looking for ways to leverage the latest in legal technology, you're already falling behind legal teams and firms that are. So for lawyers and legal organizations, the current best-in-class technology is no longer a nice to have. It's a requirement of doing business. I would tweak that quote just a little bit. You don't need to have the over-the-top best when it comes to technology. Sometimes what you think is stock standard actually is the best. I mean, if I were to do a poll, and I don't have the poll on here, but if I were to do a poll on how many of you guys use Microsoft in your day-to-day practice, Microsoft Word, Outlook, Teams, etc., I can guarantee, at least since after COVID, almost more than half of this room would raise their hands. And you're going to see, as we go through the fun bit, we're still talking. The fun demos are coming. Right? So you're going to see through the demos the capabilities of technology before you. Again, just re-emphasizing this point. When you're exploring the art of prompt engineering, that's what it is. And I'm going to tell you what prompt engineering properly is now. You never get more out of something than what you put into it. And that's something that Mark Miller said. It's a quote that I found on one of those quote websites that's available out there. But what's interesting is that it applies to prompt engineering. So what is prompt engineering? Ultimately, when you're using generative AI, depending on how you ask it to do something, your results differ. The more you refine and the more effort you put into refining the direction of what they're saying or what you're asking the generative AI to do, the output would vary. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration using the free version of ChatGPT, right? And I'm going to show you 2 examples of the same instruction, right? But the second prompt has a lot more detail, right? And how much of a difference you're going to have in your result. The other thing is, so these 2 examples that I'm giving is literally bare minimum. I'm not saying this is the correct formula. What I'm saying is the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. So I'm now going to switch to the browser and open the free version of ChatGPT. Right. So Byron's helping me. And we're going to put the first prompt in. Do we want to, can we just switch the screen to have ChatGPT back on, please?
I'll do it again.
Okay, so Byron, you can put, guys, can we have ChatGPT on the screen? Is the laptop plugged in properly?
Yeah.
Yeah, we never disconnected anything. It's just not on PowerPoint, it's sharing the full screen. Okay, there we go. So we've now got ChatGPT on the screen, and the prompt we put in is draft a letter to the City of Durban local municipality objecting to the property evaluation. Now, in seconds, you're getting this whole lovely little letter. If we scroll up a little bit, right? I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you'll see how sort of generic it is. It talks about a recent evaluation. Upon receiving the notice, you reviewed it. So it seems like a person has really put a lot of effort into writing this letter. But it doesn't give proper reasons why. If you scroll down, Byron, right? They say that there were specific factors. These include, and it just gives you suggested factors. I mean, if you don't know what factors to use, I mean, you can use it as a suggestion. How good their suggestions are, it can sometimes be argued. Now we've got a second prompt that we're going to put in, right? Now, the second prompt is going to give a little bit. Draft a letter to the City of Durban local municipality objecting to the evaluation of ERF 2367, where Team Gen AI Pty Limited is located, due to prostitution and drug dealing in the area, as well as consistent load shedding and water shortages. All right? So again, you're going to have this now. You've got a better subject line that's typing in. It's now starting to tell us about the impact that load shedding has, the impact that prostitution and drug dealing has, and it's sort of asking for a thorough review of the evaluation. So now you've put a bit more in. So instead of giving you a sort of a generic, wider kind of letter, you've got something better. Now, I'm not saying you're going to take copy, paste this, and place this on your letterhead and go away, right? You still need to review this. I mean, like Narishka mentioned, you've got AI hallucinations. You may be at a moment where the AI hallucinates and just bugs out completely and gives you the most horrific, and this is a free version also, you may have the most horrific outcome, right? But most instances you'll get something like this, but it still requires refinement. Your reasoning's in there. You're going to want to refine it to obviously sound like you as lawyers. I mean, when a CA writes, right, they give you a draft letter, even if the content is right, often we end up amending that CA is writing in a letter to sound like us, right? Because this is what's going out like us. So ultimately, that's what you're going to be doing, right? Thanks, Byron. Let's go back to the slides. So, I mean, that's just showing you the difference of what you put in is what you get out. So now, we have had a lot of talking. And we want to hear from you. So, again, I'm hoping this is going to work. If not, we're going to change the settings. The way we're going to engage with Q&A is we're going to leverage technology again. So you're going to scan that QR code, and you're going to type your lovely questions in for us, and we will then be able to, we're not going to address all your questions right now. There is a full Q&A space at the end of the session, but just to give you a moment to take in the information overload that this has been so far, we're going to try and address one or two of your questions in the room, and we will then continue. I'm just going to ask. Okay. What is the best AI tool to use? It's hard to say, for me at least, it's hard to say there's a best. It depends what your outcome is. You need to sit down and say, what do I want to get out of this? What is my ultimate outcome? I mean, there's a whole session. So with the Legal Tech and Innovation Institute, we do a 4-month course taking people through legal technology, commercial thinking, AI. And one of the things that you're going to be putting in, or you're going to be learning, is your strategy. When you're looking at technology and procuring technology, I mean, the first step is not to go for the most expensive or the most flashy thing that's in the market that everyone is talking about. That's not necessarily your first step, because those are expensive. Your first step is to look at what you're already using and learn how to leverage what you're using. And that's what we're going to see today a little bit later. But once you've got that, when identifying tools, you need to identify tools for your long-term strategy so that they work together. It's no use having 15 different tools from the 15 different service providers that don't talk to each other. It's going to be useless. So you really need to put a lot of thought and strategy, like you would for a case, in road mapping your way forward when it comes to technology. Right. So when you're talking about, I hope that answers your question. So then I seen a few people spoke about Gemini and Copilot. Those are examples of tools. I'm blown away. Where do I get this software? Yes, Arnietling. So basically, within your Microsoft, Byron and I seen this yesterday. So within Microsoft PowerPoint, there's a button that says Forms. Now, you probably have a 365 license, and within your 365 license, you've got access to Microsoft Forms, the likes. So you create a form on Microsoft, and once you create the form on PowerPoint, there's a button that says Insert Forms, and you select it. So it's PowerPoint. It's no fancy software. It's leveraging what you have to its maximum. Right. Okay, so I see we've got a lot of lovely questions, and I'm going to tackle the other questions as we get there. In the Q&A, we will collectively address the rest of your questions, but we're going to move on in the interest of time. So now, it's time to get practical. And in getting practical, we got one question that we're going to ask you first before I hand over to Atendile. And this will sort of take you into the next bit. Can you think of a situation within litigation, dispute resolution, whatever you want to call it, where chatbots can be used? Can you imagine using a chatbot within dispute resolution? Let's see your thoughts. Atendile, in the meantime, the floor is yours. Have the screen back on, please.
Thank you. So I will just wait until you guys can, respond to that. Ah, yes. Okay, you can just share why you think you guys can use chatbots or, on the dispute resolution departments. Interesting. 6 responses. Can't we get more?
I think, guys, feel free. You can actually type in longer responses as well that we should be able to see. Let's just give it another minute. We're at how many responses? 12 responses?
12.
Okay, so we got 51 in the last go. Even if your answer is no, type in no. If you think there's a use, share the use. Let's see. This is us sharing now together and engaging. And then be ready to have your mind blown by Atendile.
No pressure. Oh, you hit it. Okay, we can proceed. So like I mentioned during my introduction, that in terms of AI, our law firm is still very much new. We're still learning we're still trying to move forward, in terms of technology. So we received a challenge from our dispute resolution department where they say that they're getting tons and tons of emails on a daily basis. And it takes so much time for them to actually go through each and every email. Download the email, save the email on different folders, rename the folders, all of that. So they wanted something that will make it very much easier for them to actually go through emails without having to go into each and every single email. Now, as we may all know that in the business of law, bulk batches of emails are sent for various reasons. So a client will typically send what you call a document dump into a candidate's email inbox. So now the candidates, what they have to do is they have to literally download all of those emails, save them, like I mentioned before, save them into folders, rename the folders, so that whenever they have to work on a particular case or a particular matter, they know which folder to go to. Now this takes at least 1 minute per email to do all of this. So now imagine if you get 100 emails a day, then this means that you spend 100 minutes just going through emails. Now I'm sure that is exhausting. Well, I wouldn't know, I'm just in IT, but I'm assuming that may be exhausting. And also in terms of, we're human, we make mistakes. So if you go through 100 emails a day, mistakes are bound to happen, right? So we had to come up now with a solution to make things very easy and simple for our lawyers. AI solution. So we decided to, build a bot. Let's call our bot Freddy. So we decided to build Freddy. Now, how does Freddy help our lawyers in terms of making their work simple? So just with a click, Freddy pulled up a batch of emails. Let's say about 50 emails. So when he pulls those emails, random emails, he then saves these emails on folders in a chronological manner. So he saves them, it's year, month, date, the person who sent the email, and the time in which the email was sent. So this was demonstrated back in 2022. So when we saw that, okay, maybe this could help, so we took it upon ourselves to show or showcase to our dispute resolution department, which they liked it. So now basically, for them, what took them 4 days, just as an estimation, 4 days to do all of this work, downloading, saving, renaming, and all that, Freddy took just about 3 minutes. Time saving. So let's say, for an example, I send an email to Brian. Email sent 20th August 2023. So now how Freddy would save this, he would have these folders where he would save it as 2023 August 20th Atandile at 11. So this had then made it very easy for the department to be able to do their job. So while Freddy is doing all of this in just 3 minutes, now they just go to a particular folder that they want, just go through the folder for, the merit in order for them to now continue with the actual job without having to go through all of the, going into each and every email and saving it and all of that. But let me rather not bore you with all of this. Let me just show you a demo where we explain exactly how our Freddy works. Please enjoy.
Morning, everyone. As I said when we started this morning, there's never a day that goes by in IT or tech where there are issues. So this is all part of the fun. What I'm going to do is take a little more of a relaxed approach in showing you what we, as a small to medium-sized firm, have been able to do with AI. We get jealous when we see this sort of thing because there's Atandile and a team of sort of 4 IT people and a huge IT budget. But at PPM Attorneys, Lucien and Sadia are the IT team, Lucien and Bareng are the marketing team. So we have to get wise about how we use technology. And we've started using AI, and we started a while back, actually, believe it or not. I know I've only got 15 minutes. I'm not going to go on with the anecdotes. You can talk to me about that afterwards. So what am I going to start out with? Now, let's talk about how, as a small firm, you want to enhance efficiency. You want to spend more time, and I'm going to unshamelessly, if that's the word, say that I run a law firm to make a profit. I was talking to somebody earlier who said, your primary role is your clients. Yes, our clients are our primary role, but I'm there to make a living. I want to retire on a nice farm one day, and I want to be able to pay for it. So if I don't run an efficient law firm that markets itself well, that looks after its finances, then, I shouldn't be in private practice. So what do we do? On the way here, I thought about how AI makes my life easier. So imagine if I was asked at the last minute to come here and talk about AI and do a speech, and I hadn't prepared it. So what I thought I would do is I would say, okay, let's say we're caught off guard. And this is you. Think about you rushing somewhere to talk about something. You might have left your laptop behind and your speech was on your laptop or something crashed. So all the highlighting is what Lssa was talking about earlier. They're called prompts. Prompts are basically just a polite request to AI to do something for you. So think about me, left my speech behind, and now I need someone to do it for me very, very quickly. So what we have done in our firm is we use Copilot. Copilot is Microsoft's AI. There are various other ones. There's Gemini, there's Claude, and Arushka spoke about them earlier. The reason we use Copilot, because it sort of addresses one of the questions earlier, which AI do you use, is because we are in Microsoft. All our products are Microsoft, so this gels very easily. It's able to access every bit of information, whether it be financial, HR, client data. Now, you might ask, geez, Lucien, well, why are you using Copilot when Narushka said, don't you dare put any client information out there? You'll see at the top, right of the screen there, it says protected. That is why we are using Copilot, because this version of Copilot comes within Microsoft, and none of the information that we give it goes out, so it's completely secure. So that's a starting point. Don't go out there and just use any old product. Use something that gives you the assurance. I tell you, we read the terms and conditions and made sure that everything here is confidential. But I now am late for my speech, and the Law Society and Tony are never going to ask me to come back again unless I can actually produce this speech. So, watch. In literally 30 seconds or so, I come up with a very impressive speech, just having told Copilot that there's an AGM, I'm talking about AI, and it needs to tell lawyers what is important in their practice areas. So you'll see it talks about how important it is to help you. It can help you in due diligences. It talks about the intellectual property aspects, ethical considerations, etc. Now, a lot of the time, you might say to yourself, well, this is all for the very big firms, the complex stuff that they're doing with their emails. And yes, I don't know, when last, okay, maybe I shouldn't ask it. My firm hasn't done a due diligence for 2 years. So if we're going to be spending lots of money on AI to help us for due diligences, we are going to be very broke. So we use it for more practical solutions. Now, let's say I need to do that presentation before I walk in here. So I've got my speech, I'm going to do my presentation. Now we've subscribed for something, you'll see where the pointer is there. Your PowerPoint, if you don't have Copilot, would not have that little additional functionality. So basically, AI is now in our system, controlling our PowerPoint, controlling or working on Excel and every other piece of information that we use. So what I'm going to tell it now is to do a presentation on AI. I'm just going to go, and to save time, because I'm a really bad typer, I'm going to say to it, please prepare. And I always say please. I've seen people never saying please to the AI. It's so rude. It's just like, just do this or just do that. So I'm going to tell it to very quickly prepare a presentation. Now, why I'm illustrating this is because time is money, isn't it? Now, a presentation like this would take me or Sadia or Bareng or whoever else is at the office half a day to do. But if you watch here, you'll see again in 30 seconds to a minute, the presentation on this very relevant topic is prepared. So it's taking time now. I'm not using my usual laptop. I have a Ferrari of a laptop that works much faster, but it's gone in for repairs. But the point is that you save time by using this sort of technology. So if you look there, you'll see there's our presentation. And if I scroll through each of the slides, you'll see that it deals with all the topics that we saw in that speech a little earlier. AI basics, legal industry, etc. Okay? So quick and easy. It tells you what AI is about. So how long was that? That was perhaps 2 minutes compared to 4 hours of a candidate attorney's time. That candidate legal practitioner, my apologies, CLP. That CLP could have been doing other billable work. Okay, so already speech, presentation, done. That goes to marketing, which at our firm is an absolute priority. We place emphasis on marketing. So again, 2 practical examples of how AI can help you with that aspect. So what else? Excuse me. So many of you, I'm sure, still, if you have a hearing or a meeting or you're at a trial, maybe the courts insist on their own transcribers, but let's say you're at an arbitration. You're paying big amounts of money to have recordings done and then transcribed. But if it's something that is not absolutely critical, what you can do is you can use another piece of AI built into Microsoft, and you can actually record everything and have it instantly transcribed. And what I like about this is that it actually recognizes different voices, and you'll see, if there was somebody else, maybe I'll ask Azar to come up and say a few words in a second. But you have this already on your programs. If you go here, you'll see dictate. If you go there, you'll see transcribe. You click that. And then there's the and this is important now because the Americans don't know how to speak English. So you go and you ask for South African English. Okay? Because it recognizes our accents. That's how clever this technology is. They've trained the AI to recognize different accents. Australians don't speak any English, so this would... so, if I start recording, as I'm speaking, I'm just basically going to illustrate what this piece of software does. But if I come and ask Azar to come and say something funny, just come and say something funny.
You're putting me on a spot for funny. I can give information like a robot. I'll tell you the transcribe button is available if you have Copilot, but if you don't have Copilot, you still have the dictate button. So that's
Cool.
my input.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. And what you then do is you can just tell it to save. So what it's doing now is it's important. You'll need to be connected to the internet because it's checking in and using all kinds of technology to transcribe it. But you'll see in a minute, and I'll come back to it, or it might be quick today. I'm just going to...
Lucian, I think a caveat also with this whole thing is we're obviously speaking through mics and not to the specific computer. So maybe a caveat just to add is if it doesn't work, it's probably because not the system doesn't work, but we're talking to mics and not into the computer. You're sort of talking into the computer for it to pick up most times.
Absolutely correct. So what I'll do is, let me see with speakers and timestamps. Okay, it's misbehaving this morning. As I explained a little earlier, we'll have a few glitches. I'll come back and sort it out, but you'll see once I've sorted it out that it's going to have my entire speech, and you can see already it's got speaker 1 and speaker 2 when Azar was speaking over there, but I'll come back to this. But this is a very cool piece of technology. Will save you lots of money. Don't think it's going to crash. You must test it before you start your hearing and have a backup recorder as well. Okay, that's critical. So that's auto-transcribe. I'll see why it isn't, maybe it was Azar's voice that interrupted. Got to blame someone else. Okay, so the next thing that I use this for is for training our candidate attorneys. I don't know if any of you follow our firm on LinkedIn, but you'll see every Tuesday morning we have lawyers, right from baby candidate legal practitioners who've just started, who are required to present live for 10 or 15 minutes on last week's legal developments. And you'll see they're very confident and they do it well. How much time do I have left, Azar? All right. So what we do is we train them on presentation skills. We give them PowerPoint, and because we don't have time to say, well, you speak louder here, don't use that word, it's not politically correct anymore, anything like that. What we do is we use PowerPoint's coach. I'm just going to get to the slide. And you have something here called Coach. I'm just going to find it. And essentially what it does is it listens to you. You do a trial presentation, and it says, don't say so much. Don't use this word. Slow down here. You're going too fast. Calm down. And it gives you a report at the end of that. I'm just going to find it now.
And the fun bit is it's not part of Copilot. It's included in your normal Microsoft
Yes.
license.
So you won't have to pay anything extra. So I'm going to do a quick rehearsal, and then we'll come and see the outcome of this. So because I'm not going through this slide as I would normally, I'm just going to keep saying so it knows that I'm a bit nervous today. So it's going to tell me what report to tell me. It's going to say all kinds of stuff, and I'm just saying this to confuse it, all right, so the report comes out okay. So I won't go on for much longer. I'm just going to stop the presentation, and we'll come back, and you'll see what it will do is it's going to produce a report on this presentation. So you'll see, I'm just going to make it big. And it will say stuff like, this is an earlier report I did. Don't say repetitive language, pronunciation, good job. So this then essentially tells our staff how to improve their presentation skills, not just for presentations on LinkedIn, but also in meetings. We make them start speaking and contributing from very early on. And the intention behind something like this is to train your staff to have better meeting presentation skills, online presentation skills. A great marketing tool as well. So how that works, as you know, is with artificial intelligence. The next example is because we place such emphasis on marketing again, getting the work in. As I said, I'm unashamedly a profit-driven lawyer, not to break the rules, though, to get that profit. We use a lot of online marketing. We write articles. As you would have heard, we do LinkedIn presentations every week. We're very busy on Twitter, Facebook, and we segment our marketing to different target audiences. But if you go out there and you Google, use keywords for our practice area, technology lawyer, privacy law, artificial intelligence, you will see that on almost every occasion we are ranked within the first few hits on Google. And how do we achieve this? I'll just give you an example here. South African Draft National AI Plan. So I'm going to do a quick search so you can see. Now, why do we do this? We want our firm to be prominent. We want our firm to be known as the firm in that particular area. So whether you're doing construction law, whether you're doing family law, whatever area of law you're in, if you're intent on becoming the go-to firm, you need to be out there. And you know what? We don't have a 20 million rand annual marketing budget. So we have to be quick, we have to be nimble. I don't know who of you have a 20 million rand budget. I know there are big firms that do. So we use this type of artificial intelligence again to raise our firm's profile and to get work in. So I'll scroll down. What's great about it also is that because your articles online, everything you say online becomes so prominent, it's picked up by the press as well. They then find it interesting and they write about it. I'll scroll down and show you that you'll see. About 6 down, this is PPM, this is PPM talking about it. Sorry, that typo shouldn't be there. But, for example, imagine how much you would pay to get advertising in a newspaper. People do that, promotional advertising. You buy a slot, you put your article in there. But this is absolutely free. Okay, well, that's paywalled, sorry, so that's not free. The advertising is absolutely free. Let's see if this one turns up for free. And I would put that advertising, if I had to value it, at 25 to 30,000 rand is what you would pay to put some information like this in these 2 big publications. And we didn't get it into just one. You'll see somewhere down here, they mention our firm. There's Lucien Pierce mentioned. Invaluable. And I might not be the expert, because Nerushka is the expert, but people reading this will think, he knows what he's talking about. So the point is, you become that firm that people go to. Again, using AI to help you promote your firm. Okay, I've just got 2 more points to make. And then the last point is basically, again, using, whether it's Copilot or you can use any of the other programs. Now, when we train our candidate attorneys to write articles, I don't know about you, but that's why I'm going bald. I pull my hair out because lawyers do not, okay, junior lawyers, do not understand the concept of active voice versus passive voice. I'm sure you've been to training on how to draft clearly and concisely. The reason that is an issue is because when search engines are looking for good quality articles online and information, they prioritized those blogs, those articles that are drafted in an easy-to-use, eloquent style. Active voice is preferred to passive voice. So what we do, again, to save time, instead of Lucien, who over the years has been driven mad, correcting active voice to passive voice, whether it be opinions or in our marketing material, this is done in seconds. It's literally, you copy the article, you put it in, you tell Copilot, or whichever program you're using, to write it in a better way that is optimized for the internet. And you'll find that all of that comes up tops again. So again, this is about getting your firm known. The last point I want to make is, the example I was going to give is for those of you who are, again, want to market yourselves out there. What we do is, at the beginning of the year, our marketing committee sits down and we create what is called an annual social media calendar. And for each interesting thing that comes up, 2 or 3 days before, we'll try and get something into the press, or we'll try and put some or other information online on our website, on LinkedIn, on any of the other places. It'll be like, okay, this is Cybersecurity Month, and we'll say something clever about that, and we'll put it out there. It gets us attention. Now, in the past, what we did is we'd give it to a candidate legal practitioner, and they would take 2 or 3 weeks to come up with a social media plan for the year. But if you use something like Copilot, it's going to take literally seconds. And all you then do is you diarize this for the rest of the year, give yourself a week's reminder, and you're able to then talk about these things that are going to attract attention from your clients. So I'm going to go prepare an annual social media. I don't know how many of you know that marketing is the lifeblood of a firm, if you ask me. And that's why we place so much emphasis on this. So this, again, is AI helping us to save time, one, and to come up with quality content. So this will tell us how to plan that calendar. It will give you dates. Cybersecurity Month is happening then. It might be family law. You might be dealing with gender issues. Women's Day is coming up, and you will post about that, getting yourself attention out there. I'm not going to go into it, but in your own time, go and try and get yourself or prepare a social media calendar for your firm. The last one, or second last one, is we use AI to, you'll actually chuckle, and that's why I'm not going to do this one live in our system. So we've got AI that runs right through our emails, through Teams, through everything that we save, our document folders. And this week, we were recruiting candidate attorneys, and I was too busy to see what the outcome was and what the discussion was. So I basically said to Copilot, go through every single email in the firm, and this is the scary thing, it can do that, so you can see what your colleagues are saying. And please give me a summary of the views of the interview committee, and also give me what the ratings were for each of the candidate attorneys that we interviewed. And I kid you not, it came up. But of course, within that, which is why I'm not going to do it live, there were comments that I would consider a little unkind from some of my colleagues. So the point is, having not spent a week looking at this and only now seeing who's recommended, this then allowed me, without going into the correspondence that was going to and fro, to see in a matter of 2 or 3 paragraphs what the general view was and why we came to the conclusion that we did. And you can do that with your emails as well. I'm sure Byron will show you a little later how if you get 100 emails a day, okay, I'm exaggerating, I get about 70, you can then get a summary of what is important at the end of the day. Please, Copilot, go into my emails and tell me what you think is absolutely critical and what I need to respond to. Again, time saving, and you can use that time better elsewhere. The other interesting one that I also use is because, again, young lawyers don't realize that we are selling time. They throw that time out the window, they leave it on the floor, they never record their time. So over the years, I've developed a consistent, once or twice a year, sending out an email to my colleagues explaining to them why recording time is critical to the success of a firm. So what I did this week was I went and I asked Copilot to do one for me, but to incorporate some of the emails that I've sent over the years. I'm not going to show you that, but I'm just going to show you how you're able to, again, if you're having an issue in the firm, you can ask Copilot to help you to produce something that will solve your problem in a fraction of the time. This email would take me ages because what I would do is I would go and do a bit more research, see what's up to date. Are there any new publications talking about profitability in firms? And if you look at the one that I used from all my internal resources, it was detailed, and that will convince anyone why they need to record their time. But again, something that will save you time and enhance your profitability within the firm. You'll see it gives all kinds of explanations as to why these are important. We know that, but it's the candidate legal practitioners and the young lawyers who don't, and that's where law firms lose their profitability. My last point is security. Again, please don't go out there and put all of this type of information into a public version of ChatGPT or into Claude or any of the other AI tools that you might find publicly available or for free. Because what's happening is those very same pieces of technology are taking what you are putting there and they are learning from it. And it's not confidential, it's out there, and somewhere on their database is your question about your client that you shouldn't really have asked. So the critical part about it comes back to what I started about. When you use this type of technology, please make sure that it is one that gives you the guarantee that the information you're putting into it stays within your system, within your laptops, if you want to put it simply. But I could go on. There's some really amazing stuff that you could do. The last point I wanted to make is we do quarterly reviews. So this is our fictitious candidate, associate, Bilbo Baggins. And we do assessments every quarter on how somebody's performing. And I sit for hours going through each one, trying to see whether they're profitable or not, okay? But very soon, you will see. I haven't perfected it yet because I've only started using Excel. Very soon I'll be able to say, please just go into our firm records and tell me which professional needs to be jacked up a little and told that they're not performing as they should, and give me a summary of those who are performing very well, and let me know where we need to improve within the firm. That will take minutes. Next year, if you invite me back, Tony, I'll demo this to everyone. But the point is, use data. We've got so much data. My firm has 20 years of records, billings, etc. Soon, I'll be able to say, please go in and tell me how long on average a privacy dispute will be resolved before the information regulator, and that will allow me to quote even more accurately. Again, clients benefit and you save time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Lucian. That was a perfect example of showcasing where you don't need to be a big law firm to be able to use, when I say big, I mean, one of your larger or international law firms to be able to use this type of technology. Sometimes technology can be a little bit expensive, but as Lucian has demonstrated, it is such an investment. I mean, the amount that could be done with investing into Copilot, and obviously we're not advertising Copilot here, it's just one sort of example of a tool that's been available in a use case. So now we've got Byron, and what Byron's going to do is he's going to show you as a starting point, with what you already have, how much you can do. Because I think in the beginning of the session I promised that you're going to walk away and be able to use what you have already. So very interesting presentation also coming from Byron, and you then build through from there. Byron?
Thank you. Just want to do a sound check. Everyone in the back can hear me? Thank you. Okay. Let me just get the presentation up. Okay, so I'm here to talk a bit about Microsoft Teams and a little bit of AI, because for most of us in the room here today, Microsoft is relevant, okay? And you need a platform today that when you're working on a matter or working with the client, there needs to be a central storage location for that client and that matter. All the updates, chats, emails, all of those things also centralized. Any meetings, notes, updates, that's a question I get all the time is, what's the update on a matter? Where can I find the notes? No one knows what's going on. And actually, you already own this kind of technology if you are using Microsoft Teams. There's no extra cost on what you have to buy. If you have an Office 365 license and you've got Microsoft Teams, what I'm going to show you today, you can walk out of this conference room and go and apply immediately. Doesn't that sound like value to you? Okay, so let's talk about Microsoft Teams. The general consensus about Teams is that it's used for online meetings. That's all that it's there for. You know, if I need to join a meeting, just Teams me. I'll send you a Teams invite. But it's far more than that. And I just want to get a general census from the audience today on what do you use Microsoft Teams for. So this is where you're going to take your phone, you're going to scan this, and be honest. You know, if you use it for meetings, fine. But I know that we might have some other firms that have adopted, you know, sending a chat, can I get an approval? How's your lunch hour looking? Can we meet up for lunch? But there's other items like doing approvals. You know, sometimes you have to spend a lot of money on doing those things. There's built-in apps like bookings. You know, people spend $30 per user trying to buy a Calendly app that lets your customers see when they can book a meeting with you. That's also included in your license. If you didn't know about it, I won't show that today. Let's see. Okay, primarily, we're looking at most of the people here in the room, online meetings, Teams chats, tasks and reminders. That's good. That's talking about planner and legal project management. Okay, in the interest of time, I see we've got 27 responses coming through. Chat seems to be coming up, tasks and reminders. Great, that's wonderful. I'm not seeing a lot of people using notes. I'm going to talk about notes today, how you can actually dictate notes. And from those notes, you can use those to copy into a meeting minutes, how we can set up tasks. If I work with agreements, how do I set a reminder on that agreement to notify me that this agreement is up for renewal, especially if you've got a lease agreement. Imagine you've got a very expensive lease agreement and that thing expires, and then the landlord has got all the leverage to negotiate. But if you go 3 months in advance and say, okay, this agreement is coming up for renewal, you can start gaining that leverage by negotiating before it does expire. So let me show you in practice what this actually looks like. You'll notice I have got a headset here because I'm rather going to speak into a mic when I do demonstrate this. But this is Microsoft Teams. Okay, for most of you, you'll probably use this where you can see your calendar invites. But there are some other buttons here that you can add that is included in it as well. And I'm going to start just very high-level overview. You'll see all of you should have a little Teams button over here. If you click on that Teams button, you can go and create a team automatically or manually. Okay. I won't delve into how these teams are created, but I'll show you what the possibilities are. Now here I've got a team. It's for the client 29. That's the client number. Client is SpaceX. Matter number is 30. And this is for a rocket fuel patent. Okay? It's an IP matter. Now when I've created this, I've got the ability to have a single place for this matter where we can put some posts up. For those of you that like the TV show Suits, I've put Harvey Specter in here. He's going to be our council advisor on giving us any updates. And you can see anything that he posts is going to pop up on my laptop. Teams is available on a phone as well. So the moment someone pings you, you get a response. I don't have to wait till I'm back at my desk when I've got my emails open. I get a pop-up and I can quickly respond with, yes, this is approved. No, don't do that. When's the next court date? You know it and you answer. You also have a files location for this specific matter. And this files location is stored in SharePoint, so it is in the cloud, which means we can access it from anywhere we need to. We can put folder structures in here, like a place for agreements, a place for FICA, a place for reports. We can automate that when you create a team, it automatically recreates these folder structures for you. So you don't have to go and manually create them. You know when you create a matter, all of a sudden those right folder structures are there, and people can just start saving and dragging documents to that central place. If I go, for instance, into agreements, this is a really nice feature because there's an agreement, and let's imagine that this agreement needed multiple people's input. Okay, I'm working on one, it's an important document, I may be a candidate attorney and I need my supervisor or the person I'm reporting to also review it. Now today, I have to mail that to that person. That puts me on pause. Please review this document, I'll wait for you. This person's only going to come back to me in 2 days, I'm still on pause. What if I had the ability to give the person a place where you could open up the document and I could work on the document and they could work on the document and an external person can work on the document, and we could see everyone's cursors on this document in real time while still maintaining the versioning. Wouldn't that be a great place? No more mailing, oh, I didn't get the mail, I deleted the mail. It's there, there's no excuses. If you're working with people that you have KPIs under, you can set that that document is only available for a certain period of time, and then it expires. And then there's no excuses of I didn't get time because you're trying to manage things within KPIs. Documents like this can be worked on in Microsoft Online or on the app. If you want to see the versions, you can click on here and see version history. And I'll just show you a little bit about it. So if I go to the first version of this document, it's going to show me what the document looked like when I saved it into the system. There's company A, company B, it was a template. And if I go to version 2, it's actually going to redline for me what were the changes that I made to this document. Usually you have to buy expensive tools of comparison. How do I know what was the changes in this thing? And now we can very quickly see what it was. If I mail a document to a customer or to a client or to someone that's advising me and say, please add any changes to this document, and they reply and they say, no, no changes are needed, we're all happy. You save this back, there's a new version, and all of a sudden it will highlight there if there's any changes. How amazing is that? Especially when we have sneaky characters that change a 3-year agreement to a 5-year agreement or something like that. This is the document management side, far more capabilities. Let's explore notes. So again, I'm in one team. I can do my posts, can do my files. Let's talk about notes. Now we know that there's always going to be meetings that we're going to have with our clients, internal. And very often we sit there and we meet, and afterwards no one knows what's the next step. No one knows what was said. We can't do anything about it. This gives you now a central place per matter, per client, that I can now go and I've got a one place for client meetings for this matter, internal meetings, and I've just created this one called demo meetings, okay? From here, if I'm sitting with a customer, for instance, and this customer wants, he's paying a lot for my time. He wants someone to take notes while he takes his meeting because he feels he needs to be understood. You can go and you can type out the notes and say, yeah, here's the notes I'm typing out. Great. If you really want to and you feel like you can't type and listen, it's got a draw option over here. So you can click on draw, select what you want to draw, and then draw that out. This is great for the guys that use iPads, you know, touchscreen devices, and they want to use that functionality. If you want the ability that your customer wants you to look them in the eyes, they don't want you to focus on anything else while they speak to you, and they're not going to pause for you, you've got the option of expanding on what Lucian was showing earlier, and that's using the dictation feature. Now, the dictation feature is a little microphone that we've got here, and I'm going to demonstrate to you live how I can dictate, and what I'm saying is going to be typed out here. So let's see if this works. This is a test dictation done on the 20th of April 2024, full stop. New line. I am speaking to an audience in front of me, and this seems to be working, full stop. New paragraph. Hooray, this worked. Okay, not 100%, but it's getting there, and it's training and listening to your voice. But now you've got the ability to speak to someone, have those things transcribed, and if your mic is pretty sensitive, you'll probably hear what that person is also saying. But at least it's one space where you've got different ways of recording those really important meetings and keeping them central. It's not on someone's PC, it's not in a shared drive, it's in the Matter workspace where everyone has got access, the right access by the way, and we can share these things collaboratively. Another feature that you can get inside of there is Teams tasks. So if you didn't know this, your Office 365 license gives you an app called Planner. Planner is a tool that's going to create tasks that send people reminders or updates when a task is assigned to them. If I was working on a matter and Azar was with me on the matter, and I needed Azar to set up an internal meeting, I will create a new task, and I'll probably go here during matter initiation, and I'll say, I'm going to add a new task, and I'm going to say, set up internal meeting. I can set the due date when I want this to happen by, so Azar's under KPI, he needs this done by then, and everyone who's added to the team, I can say add to them, and I click add task. Boom, now this task is there, and we can add to-dos, we can have these tasks in different phases, like maybe your matters have phases like matter initiation, work in progress, review, or matter closure. You can also have, sorry, I'm clicking around here. You can also have adding in a manual task, and this one's the one I really want to show you, is setting up a reminder for a contract, okay, that's going to remind the team who's got access to this. I can put you on contract renewal. I'll just make it super generic. Excuse my typing, I am on a time limit here. I can set the due date, and I'll say, okay, this due date's going to be for a year in advance. On the 16th, I'll assign this to myself, and then I click add the task. Now in here, I can go and then add onto here an attachment. And I'll say it is from the Teams files. It'll go and look at the files that we've got in here. And here is our agreements. There is the confidentiality agreement. And I'll select this one and hit save. And then what I can do is say, this is a recurring thing. We need to review this thing on a yearly basis. When I tick that, now it has got everything set for me. I can put notes in there if I want to. I can say if it's in progress. And it's on a task that's going to remind me and report on this. And the great thing is, if I've completed this task, I just go into here and I click on the task and I say completed. Now once it's completed, it generates the new task because it's a recurring one. Now it's for 2026 because we've completed this task. And all of these things are reportable. I can see them in a list. I can see them in a chart of how many tasks are left for the matters. And these are great because now you get to increase performance on all matters, because if you know what matter you're dealing with, and you know what are those tasks that need to happen, those critical tasks that if you don't do them in time, everything falls apart. And you can start measuring how long does it take us to complete certain tasks during certain stages, and how do we become more customer-centric. Okay, let's talk about approvals. You can add approvals to here if you want to. Very often approval is done maybe in speech, maybe on an email, but that email when that person leaves, no, this person said I could. You know, it's very much like my landlord or my estate manager. When I do something I'm not allowed to, I'll say, no, I've got an email for it. No one knows where that email is. In this case, we've got a central place inside Teams, and I can say new approval request, a basic request, and I can say, let's say this is bring on additional budget for whatever case. You can then enter the names here that need to approve this, and I'll say Byron needs to approve it, or whoever's in the organization that needs to approve it, and I can say custom responses, and then hit send, and now there's an email that goes to the person. They approve it, it's fully auditable, and we know what's happened for any approvals as well during this matter that's become complex. Can also integrate with Adobe Sign and DocuSign if you actually need signatures for that. That's a bit more advanced, but those capabilities are available as well. Okay, so just to reiterate, I've shown you that you can have teams, okay, and you can have different teams. You can create these things literally in seconds if your admins allow you to. You can create them, you can have central workspaces like files, notes, team tasks. We can dictate on Word, but we've got everything central, and all these updates you can see are coming on your live for anything that's been sent to whoever, and we can manage everything with resilience. The next thing I'm going to show you is that once you apply this and you've got these processes in place, you can now start to use AI to help advance that, okay? Lucian and the team were talking about AI and all these wonderful functionalities. The sky's the limit, but I'm going to talk a little bit about how that applies to you inside of Microsoft Teams. Now, Copilot is not going to be standard for you. There is a free version of it. It's not going to integrate with your Outlook, your apps, anything like that. It's going to act like a chat GPT, but a bit limited. It'll help you draft responses, check your tone, and so forth. So what I've got a scenario that probably happens to all of us is I haven't been able to join a meeting, or I joined a meeting late, okay? I had to fly yesterday during an important meeting that was scheduled. So I'm going to go to that meeting. I'll go here to my calendar, and you'll see here's a meeting that happened yesterday while I was flying. Now, I don't know what was said, and I don't have the time to phone the people to ask them what happened. Now I can just go click here on Recap. This is with the Copilot license, by the way. And when I click on Recap, I can go here to Copilot, and I can start asking questions about what happened in this meeting. So I'll say here, summarize this meeting, okay? When I put that in, Copilot is going to go and look at the transcription because everything was recorded, and it's going to then give me a breakdown of what was said during the meeting, who joined. It's not going to be extremely long, but it's going to be very high level. And then from there on, you can actually prompt it and ask it some more questions. So let's see what it gives us. It's just saying summarize this meeting. We have to remember we are on a Wi-Fi. So there it gives us, and it says this meeting was a conversation between Stephen and Carlos. Carlos has an upcoming trip to Peru. Great. Now I can say, what questions were asked during the meeting? That's really awesome because now, is there anything that I need to do? And I'll hit enter. And now it's going to go and look for any questions that were asked. And once I know those questions were asked, I can actually ask it, what was the answer to that question? I can ask it, what is the next steps from this meeting? What was decided? I can even, if it was a meeting where we were brainstorming, ask it to create me a table of all the ideas with pros and cons. And we'll generate that table for you. And now, instead of phoning people around, miscommunications happening, people not being available to give you those updates, you can do this now and be more proficient in your work. So I'll just give you an example here. Here's one, what were we doing in Peru? Now I'm going to just say, okay, what is the answer to the Peru question? And then it will tell me, that was the question. Someone was asking, what are you doing in Peru? And now it will give me the answer what this person was doing in Peru. This was obviously an opening conversation of where you're calling from. No, I'm in Peru. What you're doing in Peru, and now I'll actually find out what the person is doing in Peru. Okay, and the answer was he's meeting with some potential clients and hosting an event with Microsoft and iManage. So really great insights. Let me close off with this one last feature. I know I am probably close to the one thing holding you between a bathroom break and lunch, so I'll try and make this as valuable as possible. You can have a Copilot button once you buy the license inside of Teams. And what this is going to do is going to connect your email to your files that you've worked on. All these files need to be in SharePoint, by the way. It's keeping them in the central place. So in Teams is also in SharePoint, okay? But from here, let's imagine we talked about that scenario. You've got a lot of emails that were sent back and forth for certain subjects. And the last thing you want to do is go break your mouse wheel scrolling through all of these emails wondering what's the last update, and then it changed, and then it changed. I'm going to give you an example. On the panel here, we had planning that we needed to do for this event, and there was a lot of emails sent back and forth. I'm just going to go and ask here and say, please summarize the last email thread from Azar Ismail about LSSA. I'm not in my emails. I'm doing this in Copilot, which has access to my emails. Copilot will then go and connect to my emails, go and look for any emails that Azar sent, and it's not looking for the last email, it's going to look for the last thread of what was said. And now it will come up and say the last email was about this, mentioning that we're going to meet at the breakfast area and all these kind of things, and then I can prompt it some more questions about what was said on there. Like here it said, Azar provided the breakdown. I can then go and say, what was that breakdown? What were the next steps? Is there anything for me to do? And it will go and look at that and provide that feedback back to you. At the end of the day, people think that you need these large enterprise applications to do what you need to do, but yours can look like this. You can have a report even of all of the matters and clients that you're doing inside of Power BI. And you'll see if I go into it, it can even show me a list of all the matters, all the clients that I've got. I can break them down by fee earner and report on all of these things within Microsoft. The skies are the possibilities. So at the end of the day, why am I showing this to you? Because, like, just echoing on what Lucian said, your job is to be there at the front lines with your client, putting your arm over their shoulder, letting them know that you're busy and not drowned in admin. Will AI replace lawyers? No, but it will replace lawyers that don't use it. Thank you.
Thanks, Byron. So, I think we delivered on the fact that if you're using, like most people do, using Microsoft, you should now be able to be comfortable in going back to your office and starting to use some of the features that you heard about today, and also sort of mind mapping and planning, okay, let's see what we can do about investing further into tools like Copilot or other types of tools. So we're now going to sort of, just to sum up, I mean, we've seen a wide variety of technology today. There was a lot of information overload that took place as well for everyone in terms of what is legal technology, what is AI, where is it used. We've come to understand that AI creeps in every corner of our lives, not only in the legal side. We know about the risks and considerations we need to bear in mind as lawyers, because we do have a responsibility to our clients and to the public on how we use this technology. So ultimately, you can use AI as it is to help streamline your practice, help you be more efficient, and also look at law more than just being a service, but a business. Because yesterday you had the session about the business of law, something that's quite important, and we often forget as lawyers, we're not only lawyers, but we're businessmen as well. So it's quite important that we use this technology to take us sort of through to the next level. And with technology that's this accessible, you don't need to spend millions in investing into this type of technology. A lot of this technology is what you're using already, and you build and you strategize a way forward from there. You can be competitive with any other law firm. I don't know if any of the other speakers have any closing remarks, or can we go to Q&A? Anushka?
A common question I get asked is, where do we start? Because sometimes there's a fear that prevents us from using these tools, even the free ones. And I would say, don't start with a court pleading if that's the first time you're using generative AI. It does take a while to understand how to use it, what works, what doesn't work. Start with something that can't get you into trouble, that's not going to risk your professional license. Maybe your anniversary is coming up. Gift ideas for my 10th anniversary. Your kid's birthday is coming up. What themes are trending for a 6-year-old boy? Travel ideas, travel itinerary. Just think about things within your life. What can I cook? I've got chicken breast, pepper, onion, these spices. Give me a dish that I can cook in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever, with the Instant Pot. Start there. Use a free tool. Get to know, have a relationship with ChatGPT. It's going to be like a coworker. The kids are already saying my AI. So in Snapchat, there's an AI, if you don't know. There's one in AI if you have kids. And the kids say, oh, I asked my AI about this, whatever, oh, about the solar eclipse, and it said this, and I said this. So it's already, there's that relationship of it being a friend. It will become your coworker. So start with something innocent, get to know it, and then we can slowly talk about work case scenarios. And even when you start with the work case, start with marketing, blogs. Again, less innocent than clients. And then when we are sure about the other issues, we can venture into client type issues. Thanks.
Lovely. I think Narishka summarized that so well. We're going to cut it there. And again, if you haven't already in the previous round, scan that QR code that's going to go back on the screen in a moment. Start putting in your questions. And while we're receiving your questions, so you can continue to put in your questions, So it says, please explain the difference between document automation and smart contracts. Anyone want to take that? Okay, I'll take it. So basically, document automation is where you use a piece of technology like a form or a chatbot to ask a series of questions, and the answers that's prompted in those to those questions are automatically sort of filled into a document. So for example, if you've got a contract, like a basic NDA, no fancy clauses, and you want to just plug in specific details or have specific clauses available for specific regions. So based on the answers that you're prompting, the technology sort of takes that answer and puts it into the block that it was sort of programmed to fit into. So for example, if you have a spot for name on the document, right, it says party A being Azaraziz Ismail, for example. So if I was filling out the form and I put my name in, the technology takes the answer that I provided and puts it into the document. Depending on how you work the document, certain types of contracts allow you to have options. So you can build in an option to say that you choose your region, and based on the region, certain clauses apply, as an example. Then if I choose Gauteng, and when I built the document on the back end, I said for Gauteng, only clauses 1, 3, and 5 must be included in the document, then when the person selected Gauteng, the technology will make sure that on the end result document, those are the only pieces of technology that's the only clauses that's included. So that's document automation. So it's based on what you put in, it generates, right? Now, smart contracts are something quite different, and you can have a whole conference as a whole about this, a whole session on this. This is where you use technology and blockchain technology in real time to sort of give effect to the contract as it's taking place. So it's not completing a contract, but it's giving effect to the life cycle of the contract. I'm not going to go into a lot more about that because we can spend the whole day talking about that. The next question was where and how do we register for the course? So there were 2 courses that were mentioned. I think, Narushka, do you want to talk about the course that you mentioned, and then I'll speak about what I said.
You can go to my website, litinstitute.com, littinstitute.com, and it's called the Gen AI Legal Accelerator Program. You can also email me info@litinstitute.com, and I'll give you the information. Thanks.
So our details will be put up on the screen on the next slide as soon as we're done with the questions. So that was the course that Narushka mentioned. I also mentioned another 4-month course with the Legal Tech and Innovation Institute, which is a global certification. So if you go to lti.institute, you'll be able to find more information. They call it LITIC. So if you just Google LTIC course, you'll be able to find more information on that course, or you can pop me an email as well. azar@lti.institute. Okay, the next question is, what happens to the information generated by ChatGPT? Does it store it, and how long? I don't know if anyone else wants to answer this first. Narishka?
So the free version of ChatGPT, if you read the terms and conditions, it says it may use the information you input in its training. So there is a possibility that that can become part of the training data and could be found in the output. It has happened in the past. A Samsung employee put patent information pending patent information into ChatGPT in the early days, and it was found in some of the output, which put them at risk of losing a pending patent. So that is possible. Then there's 4 tiers of subscription. You have the Plus, the Team, the Enterprise, and there's another one, a new one in there as well. Depending on your level of subscription, you have various privacy abilities, including the one where all your data stays within your environment and does not leave and does not get intertangled with the training data. So if you are using ChatGPT, you can find the privacy preference for you, and they all kind of have similar tiers where you have the free version and then a tiered version where you do have more privacy and control over data. So do pay attention to that if you're planning to use it.
Narushka, I think we're going to just stick with you for the next one on Gen AI. What's the additional benefits of the paid ChatGPT version?
Just say again?
what are the additional benefits of basically the paid ChatGPT? So we talked about the privacy,
okay. Yes,
but
yes, yes.
any other additional benefits?
Exactly. So I'll talk about ChatGPT first. The free one is called 3.5. So that means there was a ChatGPT 1, a ChatGPT 2, a 3, and then there was a 3.5. If you use the free version, you have the power of the 3.5 transformer. If you have the paid version, you have access to number 4, which even though it's a 0.5 jump, it is a very powerful jump, and it does have a lot more ability than the 3.5 version. Now, the one that's embedded in Microsoft Copilot is the 4. So if you're using Microsoft Copilot, you're actually accessing the engine of ChatGPT 4, the free one or the paid one in Microsoft's example. And then there are many others, Claude and Google, whichever is the free one you're accessing is their least smart one. And then as you pay, you get access to more powerful engines. And you also then get some little other benefits, like you can categorize your chats, you can archive chats, you have a little bit more control over privacy. Another important one with ChatGPT is you can build your own ChatGPT. So on the free version, you can't do this, but when you have the paid version, you can go and tailor your own GPT. So the ones that I use I've made a lot of them, but I don't use all of them. I have one called Lit GPT. So if I'm doing marketing material for my company, I don't have to keep telling it, I run the Lit Institute, I'm Narushka Bowen, this is my courses. It's all pre-programmed in. I'll just say, can you write a 1 paragraph for this talk I'm doing at this location and write the blurb for it. And then in like a couple of seconds, I've got that, or I'm doing a brochure or whatever it is. So you can then train those GPTs to be tailored for your particular purpose.
Thanks, Narushka. So again, a lot of questions coming in about ChatGPTs, but before that, there was a comment. I am concerned that the widespread use of LLMs will result in laziness and sloppiness, too much reliance on AI and not enough on own independent thought. It's dehumanizing. Any comments from anyone on that?
I agree with that comment. But I also think it will put a premium on human-created content. I think 99% of what we're going to see when we log on, and we're already seeing it with social media posts, blog posts, things like that. Oh, and another thing I didn't warn you earlier about hallucinations. It's not just getting hallucinations from ChatGPT. Because so many people are using ChatGPT to write their legal blog posts, they are also citing fictitious cases in a blog. So you might go to somebody's blog, get the case from there, and then use that case, and it's also fake because ChatGPT made it up for that person writing the blog. So just be aware of that. That's a newer trend that's been happening. But we are going to be completely saturated with all of this AI-generated stuff, and I think that's going to actually give a premium. When you actually take the time to make a human-generated something, it will stand out from the crowd. But this is a real problem we are going to face in the future. And there's this other ethical debate of what's going to train the future LLMs, because if everything's AI generated, like, are we stuck in this AI circle in a sense?
So we've got another question. Has anyone created a legal specific ChatGPT software that's a reliable source of information here in South Africa? Now, I think when it comes to that, like Narushka said, you could create your own GPTs, but I wouldn't call it a ChatGPT, but locally and internationally, you've got a suite of legal service providers, and they're working. What we're seeing trends in legal research is technology is evolving, where your legal research platforms may reach a stage where it works using this type of AI. There's a suite of different products. It's globally in different markets that's been advertised. So it's going to be interesting to sort of see this space where it'll be something legal specific. And the difference is, obviously when you're using GPTs, this is information that's trained, that's out there on the internet. It'll be interesting to see, I mean, a lot of law firms are starting to create these type of things for their own internal purposes, but trained not on information that's online, but information within their own organization. So you may start seeing legal research platforms that are going to be built and trained on their information specifically and not wider information. So that may be something you're going to see in the future. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to say. Okay. Is it safe from embarrassment, and what about the issue of, so I think we're missing a bit in that question, so I'm going to skip past that. How do I safely use it in my workplace? I think we've discussed quite a bit of safety in our workplace, and we are out of time, so there's a series of questions that have come in. Our details are going to be now up on the next screen, so I suppose you can reach out to us. Our details are on the screen, and we will try and assist you where we can. I mean, on LinkedIn or via email, and we'll take it from there. Thank you so much.